Resendes here with Remax River City and the Edmonton Property Shop. And today we are with Andrew Kao. Hello, hello.
Great to see you again.
So Andrew is with KBL Law, and what are we chatting about today?
Today I thought we'd chat about the wonderful world of new build condos. Fancy sky rises, fancy townhouses, or any other type of property which can be classified as a condo, and all the unique features that exist with those beautiful properties that don't exist with resale condominiums or even new build homes.
All right, so where do we want to take this? Do we want to chat about buying and selling brand new construction condominiums?
Yeah, I think that'd be the best way to go. So,
Okay.
condominiums are not so much the type of property, but more so how you own the property. But most new build condominiums are going to be either giant sky rises, sometimes little apartments, or townhouses.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll have another video talking about all the fun world of new builds themselves, but let's focus specifically on new build condos and all the interesting features that exist. So what do you find when you're helping a buyer buy a new build property condo that is maybe unique from buying a new build?
Are we talking pre-construction?
Pre-construction or even a spec home, but especially pre-construction homes.
So obviously, there's a certain amount of, fear associated with finding something that is going to be essentially, you're putting your deposits down in hopes that, you're going to have completion time roughly in a year or two. Because obviously, there are some great builders out there. And, aside from good and, bad builders, you also have to deal with city permits. And also you have to deal with communities, which is another situation. For instance, if you're putting, in Grosvenor, that high rise that's going, there's been a couple that have been slated, but have kind of gone by the wayside. But obviously, everybody surrounding there, they're going to have to put their 2 cents in. And you want it to, number one, be aesthetically pleasing for the neighborhood and kind of fit in. But, what's going to happen if you're delayed? What's going to happen if there's not enough interest in the project? Are you going to be left holding the bag, and you always hope to have your deposits back, but...
And you can, I've had a couple of clients, unfortunately, in some wonderful ICE district tower developments that were proposed and then unfortunately failed for whatever reason, oil, whatever you want to blame it on.
Mm-hmm.
They've managed to get their deposit back, but then there are the horror stories where that doesn't happen. So we would take a look at the contract, use our own experience to chime in as to how reputable the companies are, and kind of give you the risk assessment of what it means to buy a new build condo, especially if the tower itself is not even constructed at all yet.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit easier to buy a property where the tower is constructed and then just you find the property once and it's basically done except for finishes. That's slightly different. There's still some headaches associated with that. But when you have a property that's not even started yet at all, and there's a projected starting date of 2 or 3 years on the road, it might be a nice financial incentive because you get a better price starting up. But there's a big risk that you're kind of assuming by going over that.
Yeah, obviously everybody always says, real estate's going to appreciate, but obviously it's just like a stock, it's going to go up and down, and you never really know where it's going to be at in, let's say, 3 years.
No.
A lot of times we still need the bank to approve things. Not everybody is a cash buyer.
No, but that's the exception rather than the rule, right? When it comes to that. So, when you find a tower and it's already complete, and all you're really getting to pick are your kitchen cabinet colors and the finishes and so on, that's going to have a little bit less risk because you know that unit's going to get done. It still sometimes can be just a matter of when that's going to be done. So the issue with new build condos is that they all start off with having one giant title before it's subdivided into its individual units. With new build condos, unlike a new build house or a resale property, the bank isn't going to give us any money until the mortgage is registered onto the title. So if you don't have a title for that property, you can't get any money. So the worst case scenario that can happen is the builder gives you a possession date. That possession date rapidly approaches. You tell your bank what it's going to be, so they start the process, and you basically got 4 months, 3 or 4 months for that rate to hold. And then the possession date's vastly approaching, and all of a sudden you realize, there's no actual subdivision for that condominium plan, so there isn't an actual title, so there's no title for it to go on. And I've actually seen one client before who ended up having a possession date of, let's say, February 26th, and it was still actually 8 months until
Oh my gosh.
There was actually a registration plan. So now, the risk is you can lose your interest rate. He was fortunately a cash buyer, so that didn't really affect him. You do have an option though, if you have nowhere else to live and you're banking part of the plan and everything working out, where builders will often let you move in as their tenant. But when you're doing that, you're paying them interest or rent every month, which should otherwise go to your bank. And technically speaking, as a tenant, you aren't going to be able to do some of the things that you'd like to do if you're a homeowner, i.e. repainting, doing some reconfigurations, things like that. So it's rare we like to let people move in as a tenant at all, let alone with a new built condo, because there is a slight possibility that subdivision plan may not actually happen for a long time.
And let's just be clear, that is a very slim percentage of the
It is.
builders that will allow that to happen. Like tenancy at will, when you're dealing with, let's say, a concrete high rise, they really want to make sure that they're going to get their money at the end of the day. And that's the only reason why they let you move in. But, there's a certain liability for them too, right? Like, what if money does not appear on, the new proposed date? So it's a lot harder to get people out. Not saying that, my buyers are going to be, those type of people, but things happen. Could be a job loss, could be anything.
Yeah. So that's the worst case scenario that you can really ever conceive of, apart from the thing of being built and the builder keeping your deposit and you having to go and sue them for that. That's worst case scenario. More relevant is the situation where there is a condo plan registered, but the builder's lawyer sometimes doesn't give us all the transfer documents that we need in an ample period of time to get the money on the closing day. So a lot of things have to happen where we need to sign the documents 2, 3, 4 weeks in advance so that the title can be transferred into your name and the mortgage go onto the title so that we can get the money. That isn't a consideration for a resale property or a new build home. So it's something that we have to micromanage, and I get involved before you even submitted an offer or have an accepted offer to confirm with the other lawyer for the builder that they aren't going to charge you any interest if it's actually their fault for not giving us the documents in time. So there's something to think about, which doesn't exist with any other type of property.
I think something we should really touch on is the fact that, just because you're dealing with, a pre-construction property, for instance, in this case, it is so important to use a realtor, because if you are a consumer walking in off the street, you have zero representation. You're essentially dealing with an unlicensed salesperson 9 times out of 10, and if you don't understand your rights, I seriously doubt a lot of them understand fair market value, and it's also speculation if you are, anything more than probably 3 months out. So, if you've got somebody you know and trust, definitely get them involved before you even start looking, because, for instance, downtown Edmonton, that skyline has changed so much over the past 10 years. And, there's been, wonderful successes with some projects, and there's been, hear all of the stories. There's been bad situations too. So for more information on this topic, definitely give us a call. Our numbers are below. We'd be happy to chat. Thanks for joining us.
Have a super day.